Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck. It's Monday, May 1st, so happy May Day to everybody. And we're out here on a little back road north of town a little ways, and it's a pretty little area. You can see the rock outcroppings up there above, the pine trees, and I'm going to pan around here to the right a little bit. We're right alongside a little running stream. It's called Ash Creek. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today, but before I do that, let me spin the rest of the way around. I don't get out on this road very much anymore, but I used to run a 4x4 tour company, and this was along one of my routes, and sometimes I come out here 2 or 3 times a week. And one of the places I always used to stop is right where I'm stopped now. And I show the folks this big old tree. Now this ponderosa pine, it's obviously an old one. It's probably 300-400 years old, and the top of it's dead. But I'd always stop here, and I'd have the folks come and smell the bark. And those of you that aren't familiar with ponderosa pines, when it starts getting warm, like it is today, the bark actually smells like butterscotch. And this particular tree is a good one for that, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Works best if you take your hat off, stick your nose right there, and give a sniff, and it smells just like butterscotch. Some of them smell a little bit more like vanilla, but this one smells like butterscotch. So let's go back over here to the chair, and we'll sit down where I can talk to you. It's kind of pleasant today. It's kind of windy, but not down here in this little canyon where I'm at. It's actually not bad at all. And today I thought it'd be a good time to do the next and last installment in my Bigfoot stuff series. So this is going to be Bigfoot stuff number 10. And the title on it is going to be, how do you get to the point that we've gotten to in regard to your dealing with the Sasquatch people? And it's going to be a little bit of a complicated subject, and this is the first take, so we'll see if I can get it on one take. I've been kind of kicking it around through my head for several days now, and like I always tell you on the other videos, in order to really understand where this one's coming from, the best thing to do would be to go back and watch my Bigfoot stuff number 1 through Bigfoot stuff number 9 videos, and including there's a couple of videos on another channel that are pinned to the comments on 2 of those. And that'll tell you where we're at and how we got where we're at. So on this video, I want to talk about, if you're interested in doing what we do and achieving the results we achieve, I want to talk to you a little bit and tell you how to do that. And I'll tell you up front, it's probably 80% or better mental. And the very first thing you have to do before you do anything else is you have to kind of come to grips with yourself that everything we're telling you about is real. That's really hard to do. I had a very hard time. It took me 6+ years before I finally was able to let go of everything I've been taught my entire life. Those of you who watch my videos know I'm 74 years old now, and the first many years I would have never ever believed that any of this was possible until it started happening, and it started happening often enough, and it started happening powerfully enough that I finally had to just give up and say, yeah, this is real stuff. It's not, we're not inventing in our heads. There's a number of us that are doing this. We're all getting the same results. We're in contact with people in other states and even up in Canada that are doing what we're doing and getting the same results. And if you think about it, that's science. We got an airplane flying over. I don't know if you can hear that or not. So what I normally tell people, and I give presentations on this, and you all know that I taught at community college level for many years, and I think I just said in a couple of videos back, I kind of got the school teacher mentality, and that's kind of why I'm able to talk to the camera like I do. But one of the first things you got to do is get yourself a little mental box. It can be made out of whatever you want. Cardboard works fine, but kind of set it off to the side a little bit and take all your preconceived notions and all your skepticism and all your disbelief and all that kind of stuff, and just put it over there in that little box for a while. And just ask yourself, this old Chuck, he's talking about some pretty wacky stuff, and what if it's real? well, put all that preconceived notions over there in a little bit, and if you want it back, you can have it back. But for the time being, set it off to the side somewhere, and just assume for a while that everything that I've told you and that our group is coming up with is absolutely real, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is. All right, so the next step to do, and we hear this constantly, the Sasquatch people have said this, and we've heard it from other people as well, and that is, you can't trick them. You have to be honest with them. And what they're looking for, and remember, they're bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter than we are. They're mentally, they're leagues ahead of us as far as what they're able to do. So you can give up the idea that you're going to fool them, because you're not going to fool them. They can actually download your intent and read you like a book. And what we hear constantly is we hear they're looking for somebody with an open mind and a good heart. So if you don't have an open mind and you don't have a good heart, then maybe this is not the line of endeavor for you. But if you do have an open mind and a good heart, and you do want to learn about this, and you do want to have contact with the Sasquatch people, this is going to be how you do it. Now, it's handy if you can find a place where you know there's activity. So some of you people that are watching this, and I know I do have some other Squatchers that watch my channel, and thank you very much, by the way. But one of the things, if you find a place where you already know that there's activity. Now, it might be on your property, especially if you live in a rural area. It might be on a friend or relative's property. It might just be out someplace on public land. And we have a lot of public land here. And it's good to start there. Now, if you've got somebody where they're having some kind of hostile encounters with them, maybe that's not the best place to start, although that does prove they're there. And I've intervened a couple times, or I should say my partner Kevin and some of the rest of us have been involved in this too. But I've helped people in a couple different properties where they were having issues with the local forest people, and part of it was because they didn't believe they were there. And so the Sasquatch folks, they've obviously lived there a lot longer than the humans, and they would do things more and more outrageous just to get the humans' attention and to let them know they're there. In some cases, they were trying to scare them off, but in most cases, they were just trying to blow the whistle and say, "Hey, we're here." They're not supposed to come right up and shake their hand and introduce themselves to us. I mean, they have rules against that. The elders, some of the elders have a little more latitude for doing that, but the younger ones aren't supposed to do that. And which is one of the reasons why you don't see them. But they're there. There's where I'm sitting out here, there's actually a family group that lives out in this area, and I've had contact with one of them. He's a male. His name is Justin. And there's been a couple other names I picked up as well. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So let's just say you have a relative who has a farm, and they've had some weird things happen on their farm, and you're trying to help them get to the bottom of it. And so, you don't have to hike 30 miles into the wilderness to find these folks. In fact, if you hike 30 miles into the wilderness, you're more likely to find ones that don't like us, because that's where they go to get away from us. Remember, I've said in other videos that their lifespan is approximately 3 times ours. And that means that if you lived in an area for a long time, the elders, the Sasquatch elders that live there, they not only know you, they knew your daddy and they knew your granddaddy. And maybe so when your granddaddy first came to the area, maybe they were still Indian issues, and maybe your granddaddy was shooting at them and that kind of stuff. And so they may not like the humans. And so a lot of the elders, they go to very, very remote areas to stay away from us. But they're there. They're basically pretty much everywhere. And remember, if you're able to manipulate light like we believe they can, and so you can be invisible to us humans, well, then that it's pretty easy to hide when you're invisible. So, by the way, if this thing goes in and out of focus, I can't see the screen the way I'm holding the camera. If this goes in and out of focus, that's a lot of times that means they're actually here, and they're monitoring, and that's kind of their way of telling us that they're here. I'm not touching the camera. I'm using my little handle thing. And so it's not something I'm doing. So it may or may not be going out of focus. It usually means they agree with us if they do that. So getting your mind straight and getting your head on straight, as we like to say, and going in there with a positive attitude. One thing that's really huge with them is trust, and they want to build trust. And you're not probably going to have that the very first time you go out. It's going to take them a while to decide that you're okay.
I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. And people just went by and wished me a wonderful day. That's very nice of them. Anyway, they got to build trust. They got to know. Number one, once you've established contact, and I'll tell you a little bit about how to know when they're there, but once you've established contact with them, we made them a promise, and we won't break our promise to them. And our promise is number one, we'll never try to take their picture. They don't like cameras. We don't exactly understand why. I think I might have a line on why, but I'm not really sure, and I'm not ready to talk about that yet. But they are told that they don't want to get their picture taken. They've been, from the time they're little tiny ones, they are told, never let them take your picture. So what that means basically is that you're probably not going to get a picture of one. Sometimes they're not infallible. Sometimes they'll make mistakes, and every once in a while one will deliberately show themselves. And usually that's to make a point, to make an impression. But the other thing is they'll come in around dark. That's our experience. Sometimes they'll come in late at night or keep us up late at night, but most of the time it's right around dark. And part of the reason we think we know why that is, and that's because they see in the dark and they know we can't. So the darker it is, the more likely they're able to come in close. So we usually like about a quarter moon because it gives us a little bit of visibility, so we can navigate, so we're not running into trees and stuff. Although we've been out there in the blackest of black nights before, and we've had activity then. But we promised them that we would never try to shine a bright light at them. We also promised them that we would never try to hurt them. And the short version of that in our vernacular is no cameras, no lights, no guns. All right, they're not going to hurt you. If they were going to hurt us, if they were out there, if they were the bloodthirsty monsters that some people would make them out to be, they'd have killed us a long time ago, because they have had every opportunity in the world. And I can tell you exactly how it would happen if they decide that they wanted you, and they have the ability to just walk up to you, and by the time you even realize they were there, you wouldn't have time to do anything. And the people that talk about, oh, I never go in the woods unless I'm packing, well, I tell you what, they could do two things. They could either surprise you to the point where you don't have time to draw your gun, or they'll paralyze you. And they can paralyze. They can zap you to the point where you can't move. And if they wanted to do that, they could just walk right up to you, and they're big and they're strong and they're powerful, and they could just walk up to you and they could just rip you to pieces if they wanted to do that. But if you watch my other videos, they're very spiritual. They believe in the Almighty. They have a lot of love. They have more, probably they're much less of a warlike species than we are. And all you got to do is watch the evening news and you know how warlike we are. That's one of the reasons, another reason why they don't have contact with us is because, they don't trust us. And when they get to the point they can trust you, they actually let their little ones come right in around you. And my goal sometimes is to have one of their toddlers sit in my lap. And I've gotten close enough that I've had them sit literally in the chair I'm sitting in now, and we've had it sitting next to us. And even the last time when we were over at Crazy Town 2-3 weeks ago, I had a little one come and sit in the chair next to me. And it was cloaked, but I could see it pretty well. And when they do that, they trust you. And trust is everything. Respect is everything. I've heard of people that try to, think they're trying to deal with some kind of ape or monkey or something, and they're trying to talk to them like they're talking to their dog. Don't do that. They have names, they have language, they have society, they have culture. Some of their elders are in excess of 200 years old. So treat them with respect. So if you go out there, you put aside all your preconceived notions, you transmit love, you don't try to shine bright lights, you don't try to take pictures with a camera, and don't try to fool them. If you watch any of my Mitch Waite videos, poor Mitch, he tried everything under the sun to try to fool them. It didn't work, and we know why, but Mitch never quite got the memo on that, I don't think. But eventually, and it's going to take a while. It's probably not going to happen the very first trip, although we have taken people with us who've had absolute, what we call aha moments on the first trip out. But it doesn't happen with everybody. It took me, before I had my first actual sighting that I can hang my hat on, I was doing this for 6 years. So you have to make the commitment. You have to decide that this is what you want and this is what you want to do. And tell them. So now, let's talk about how to know they're around. Well, after a while, you'll get to the point where you can sense it. We've gotten to the point now where we pretty much can tell when they're around. We get kind of like a little buzzy feeling in our head. It's kind of a neurological connection. But if you're not doing that, if you're not to that point yet, there's another vehicle coming by, and this one's a little noisier. But if you're not to that point yet, then listen for noises. Listen for bushes shaking, twigs snapping, maybe a foot stomp. One might come thump their chest a little bit. Vocals. Sometimes they'll give you a whistle. Sometimes they'll throw a little pebble. Normally it doesn't hit you. A pebble might. A rock won't. It'll land next to you. But all this kind of stuff, this kind of a hi, we're here thing. Remember, if they're good rock throwers. If they wanted to hit you on the head with a rock, they'd throw one the size of a baseball and knock you cold and you'd be done. So all that kind of stuff tells you they're there. And what do you do when they're there? Well, number one, don't get scared. They might try to test your mettle. They might try to freak you out a little bit. I've been screamed at and growled at, but they don't even do that to us anymore. And if they do that to us, if one younger one starts trying to do that to us, we treat them like teenagers and we say, "Oh, come on, we know you're there. You don't have to do that. Just knock it off." And likely as not, they will. So at some point in time, and can you go by yourself? And the answer is, yeah, you can. We've all done it. We've kind of got to the point where we don't go by ourselves very much anymore. And it's not because of fear of something happening. It's for confirmation of what happens. If I hear a sound and I'm with a couple other guys and they all hear it, well, that's confirmation to me that it actually happened. So what are you likely to hear? Well, you do get the whoops a little bit. You hear about the tree knocks and the whoops, and the tree knocks aren't really tree knocks. That's the noise they make. We're not quite sure how they do that, but they make that wood on wood sound. They don't walk around with clubs. They also make like a rock clicking sound, and we think it's they're clicking their teeth or something to do that. And that's also part of their vocabulary. So sometimes if they're talking among themselves, you'll hear that little clicking sound. And some of the Aboriginal peoples and the South Sea Islanders do that as well. So another thing you might hear is what sounds like people talking. And of course, if you're going to do this, you kind of want to know if there's anybody else around. Because if there's a camp a half a mile away and they're playing music loud, you're going to hear that when it's really, really quiet. And so, check the area, make sure there's nobody else around before you get too immersed in that. And what you'll hear a lot of times is you'll hear what sounds like women talking. And it'll be feminine sounding, slightly oriental sounding, and there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 of them talking all at once, kind of like watching The View on TV. And but you won't be able to quite tell what they're saying. So it sounds like women talking, but you can't quite make out what they're saying. And usually that's young ones talking. Sometimes you'll get what we call the samurai chatter, and if you're familiar with Ron Moorhead and the Sierra sounds. It sounds kind of a little bit ape-like, but that's part of their language as well. Sometimes when they're talking, they talk really fast when they talk in their own language, and sometimes they'll 2 or 3 of them will talk at the same time, and they can do that. They can talk and listen at the same time. We have a hard time with that, and we have a hard time understanding them. We've heard their language. We've heard them talk. We've got it on audio recorder. So, we know what it is. There's a fellow named Scott Nelson that's got all kinds of audio recordings that have been sent to him, and he's trying to understand their language. He's trying to decipher their language, and he's a retired Navy cryptolinguist. Any of you have been around the Bigfoot research community have probably heard the name. We've been in contact with guys like Ron Moorhead, and we've been in contact with some of the other ones. Mike Patterson's another one, Sasquatch Ontario on YouTube, and if you've heard of him, I've been on the phone with him before. We've been on the phone, or in contact, I won't say on the phone. We've been in contact with Steve Isdahl from the Facts by How to Hunt up in British Columbia. We are the Arizona 4, if you've heard of that, if you've heard him read emails from us. So this is going to be my Bigfoot 10 video. I don't know how long this has gone on, but this will be the last one in this series. I'm going to do a lot of other Bigfoot videos, but this will be the last one in this particular series. And if you got any questions, talk to me in the comments. I try to answer every comment that comes in, and I tell everybody, please don't hate on me. I had somebody hating on me on one of my other videos. They kind of think I'm being influenced by the devil or something, and I think we're smart enough to figure that out, I think. So anyway, I'll let you go for now. Like I always tell you, be kind to each other, love each other. It's a beautiful day. It's a wonderful life. We've come into, we're supposed to get a cool down the next couple days, but no particular weather. So it's just a really lovely time of year. So I'm going to pan around one more time so that you can see where I'm at. And I'm going to have to get into the sun a little bit to do that. So I apologize for that. But this is a pretty little area. This creek is called Ash Creek. It's part of a network of road systems that I used to haul people in my tour truck on, and had people from all over the world in my tour truck. And that was kind of I always said it was a 9.5 on the fun meter, but we didn't really make a lot of money doing it. I'm sitting in a chair, so I'm downhill a little bit from the van. But this is where we're at. So until I talk to you again, we'll get back to you real soon. So for right now, I'll just say have a blessed day and peace out.